It is stop now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are live now.
Okay.
We are live?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the last plenary session of the CitSci 2024, the 5th edition of CitSci. I have great pleasure in introducing Pierre Bonnet, a researcher at CIRAD. He's been a long-time researcher at CIRAD. He has a permanent position in CIRAD, which is a research institution in France. He's been working with the AMAP laboratory, a joint research unit specializing in tropical biology, plant architecture, and biodiversity informatics. He has a unique ability and interest in botany, plant ecology, and a strong interest in applied computer science. I have known Pierre for a long time. I have met him in 2008 when the PlantNet project was just about beginning. He's visited India. He's worked in the French Institute at Pondicherry in 2002 before he did his PhD at Montpellier. So he has familiarity with the tropical world. He has worked in India, and I have kind of known him from 2009 when the PlantNet initiative was beginning. In addition to his leadership at PlantNet, Pierre has been actively involved in coordinating large-scale international projects. Since 2022, he has led the European Garden EU project, which focuses on safeguarding biodiversity and critical ecosystem services. He also contributes to other major European initiatives. And today he is going to be talking about harnessing AI and citizen science for large-scale plant biodiversity characterization, insights from the PlantNet platform. He's been using citizen science data, a lot of images and things like that from citizen science data to train models and use models for plant identification, focusing on plants. He has more plans on how AI can be used in the area of citizen science, using citizen science data for conservation. With this small introduction, let me go over and hand over to Pierre Bonnet. Pierre, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Prabhakar, and thanks for the organizer to invite me to join you for this conference. So I'm really glad and honored to do this presentation. So as you mentioned, I went in India a very long time ago, we could say. So it was my first experience in tropical region. So I did that in 2002, and I started to interact with botanists from the French Institute of Pondicherry and their partners in south, east and west India. And so this gave me the motivation to learn more about tropical plants and to invest on ways that could support people to, like me, learn more in plant science and in botany in particular. So let me share my screen. I will just ask you to confirm me that my screen is shared in full mode now. Is it okay, Prabhakar?
Not yet, Pierre. Please share your screen.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
It just says double click to it. Yeah, it's okay now.
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So I will speak for a quite large group of people who work with me in a quite large team involving engineer, ecologist, computer scientists, and plant scientists. And so this work was initiated more than 15 years ago in order to try to identify how we can support society and how actors of the society can help us to identify plant species at large scale. So several thousand of plant species coexist in different places in the world, in particular in tropical region. And we were interested to evaluate the potential of citizen science and computer science for facilitate the plant identification based on image analysis. So the initial objective was to experiment the potential to have such time of virtuous circle in which you mobilize the visual biodiversity data in order to experiment different machine learning techniques to facilitate the plant identification based on image recognition and to involve actors in this process in order to allow them to contribute and also to provide feedback on the research results that have been initiated. And so the project now is quite well established. So the platform is available through web and mobile versions since more than 10 years now. And so in order to simplify how it's function, so people who want to contribute to the project in order to share plant occurrence or who need to identify a plant species that they observe in the field can use a web or mobile version of ntNet, submit their images, which are then potentially recognized by an AI model that provides them a species list that could be present on their images. And then these actors can, if they want to support the project, contribute with their observation, which can be revised by the community of actors involved, which can potentially validate this data that can then contribute to improve the accuracy of the AI model, which is regularly trained. And all the occurrence data that have been validated are shared out of the ntNet platform through different national and international portals, such as, for example, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility portal, GBIF. So we conduct a survey a few years ago in order to better characterize the community of actors involved in this large-scale initiative. And so we were surprised to see that most of the people involved were interested for their personal interest and personal usages. And so they use or contribute to the platform regarding their interests on gardening, or on the discovery that they can do during trekking activities, or even for potentially use in phytotherapy and for eatable plants. So we also were able to see in that time that professional usages were much more diversified than what we imagine and expect. And so we could see that the platform has been mobilized in agroecology, for natural area management, for expert botanic. Also, it was mobilized a lot in educational context or for ecotourism activities. And so I will briefly illustrate some of this usage and how the platform has been used and has been enriched by these actors who want to be involved in such a scientific dynamic. So as I mentioned, the project started more than around 15 years ago. It was marked by different steps, some of them mainly related to technological achievement. So for example, the arrival of AI technique and deep learning technique in particular in 2015, or the fact that we reached some remarkable milestone thanks to the support of the media in particular and the civil society, for example, who allow us to collect a huge volume of plant occurrence at the world scale. So up to now, the platform, thanks to its interests for a large diversity of factors, is used by around 20 million people per year at the global scale, and we can count between 200,000 and 800,000 participants and users of that platform per day. So this project could not be possible thanks to a very large network of partners that are international platforms or key local actors, such as botanical gardens, university, research institutes, and NGO involved in environmental education, for example. I will now start to illustrate some key partnerships that has allowed the project to grow. So since the beginning, the project was designed with a French NGO, which is named Tela Botanica, which is a network of French-speaking botanists, professional and non-professional ones. And so this NGO has a culture in the sharing of botanical data and knowledge. And they used to conduct educational activities. So they have several online MOOC that are illustrated here. They conduct field activities. They organize workshops for all actors interested to learn or share botanical knowledge. So during the project, we were interested to test with the Tela Botanica the advance of multimedia image retrieval techniques for plant species identification. And this is why we co-develop different tools. So one of them is illustrated here. That was it's a web tool that was dedicated to collaboratively validated plant species identification. So this trial, this experiment of co-developing computational tools with NGO allow us to better understand the needs and the motivation of the participants and members of this quite large French network. Tela Botanica, for example, in order to increase the contribution of the participants, launch some kind of competition, allowing participants to share very nice picture of plants, and to every month have a selection of the most remarkable one based on the votes of the participants. So the interaction with this engineer really pushes us in a, we could say, in a different position according to what we have in past, which was more related to a classical position of scientists who used to experiment methods, and when they feel this method is ready, used to share with the scientific community first, and then potentially with public actors. In this context, as we interact on a daily basis with them, and as we start to directly interact with members of this NGO, who could be amateur botanists, who could be ecotourist guy or educators, they share with us really their needs and how they thinks that they could be involved in such dynamic. So this allows us to start to think how, with such a generic platform that want to embrace plant diversity at very large scale, how we could interact with these actors in different way in order to allow them to find what they need and what they expect regarding their involvement in such project. So I will illustrate a few other examples, but it can give an idea how we embrace, we could say, the needs and motivation of our partners, non-academic partners, that find interesting to contribute and to invest their time, expertise, network with us in order to progress on and to achieve more remarkable scientific output. So here we illustrated a collaboration that we start in 2016 with the Vicha NGO, which is a Slovak NGO, and Ivana Polakova lead a project, a national project in Slovakia, that was dedicated to increase awareness and attractivity of plant diversity at school level. And so she established a network of schools across the whole country. So it was a network of around 100 different schools from a big city like the capital, or even in very small villages. So she paid attention in the diversity of size and type of schools that has been involved in order to increase cross-exchange perception and experience between the different students involved in this project. And so Ivana imagine a mechanism in which the student has to record the diversity of plants inside or around the school, and then they have to establish a media campaign to promote that diversity and to increase attractivity to this plant diversity to a larger community of people. So first it was the parents, but they also push their media campaign in the media, local media or national media, and so they invest in many different ways to promote their activity and to promote plant diversity at school level. And so we interact with them in order to increase the adaptation of the platform that we establish to this context, in particular with the translation with them of all the interfaces and potentially educational material that could be used during her project. We also interact with the local actors and botanical experts in Slovakia in order to see how we can better increase the capacity of the platform to better recognize plant species of that region. And so thanks to a large diversity of actors, we were able to support her in the involvement of quite young students in the discovery and promotion of their plant diversity. Another context that I would like to mention is a network of natural reserve. And so we interact. Here it's illustrated with two of them. So French natural reserve, which is Ramières, close to the Rhône region, and the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy in Kenya. And so both of them were interested to mobilize a network of citizens participants in order to record plant diversity. But the audience that they target were very diverse. So for the French National Reserve, it was a network of close partners who already interact with them and that they want to mobilize and to support in the collect of new botanical observation on the area covered by that reserve. While in Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, it was much more oriented toward the involvement of academic students and tourists, visitors that used to do some trip in order to discover Kenya plant diversity, and they support them in order to allow to use the platform to increase the knowledge on plant diversity and plant distribution of the plant species of that reserve. And it was interesting for us to see that these two types of factors really has two different way to mobilize their networks and citizens who interact with them in order to increase the volume of knowledge of the areas that they manage. When we look at the global scale, here it's some statistics of the use of the mobile version of the platform, of the mobile application. And so we have a clear bias in a spatial distribution of the network of people who are involved on that on the use of that platform. So As you can see, we have among the 20 million of users per year, almost 20%, 25% are based in France. So mainly because we initiate the project in that region, but it's interesting for us that there is a large diversity and distribution of the beneficiary of that platform that work with us and that are distributed across the world. For this year, we count more than 200,000 users of the mobile version of PlantNet in India. For us, it's also interesting to see that there is a quite a good distribution in terms of languages that are mobilized through the platform. So the translation of the interface, the web and mobile one, are done by the user and participants themselves. So we initiate a mechanism in which any contributors can participate to the translation of the interface. For example, as it was done with Zivica in Slovakia. And this allows any individual who really wants to promote the usage of the platform in his own context to invest his time and capacity in order to translate in the languages of interest for him. We can see a quite good balance between male and female, even if this graphic is quite different according to the region of the world. At global scale, it is quite well balanced. Regarding the temporal distribution along 1 year, we can see that there is much more activities, we could say, in a summer period, but summer for north and temperate region, and this is a reflex of the spatial bias that we can see here in the number of beneficiaries and actors involved in the platform. I was thinking that could be interesting also to highlight the different ages of the participants. So here it's only on a selection, so it's not because we do not have precise information for all the actors involved in the use and contribution to the platform. But it is interesting to see that even if we really push in direction of the youngest people, even if the platform is mainly used through computational tools, which are for which young people are much more comfortable with, there is a strong involvement of people of more than 54 years old. And so this is mainly related to the fact that these actors has some hobby, we could say, and also want to share and to invest their free time on such discovery and such a learning process. So we try to progress in order to rebalance that bias, we could say. But this is a long-term task on which we have to invest. And it's interesting for us to see that such type of statistic can be analyzed at the global scale, but this type of pattern can be really different when they are analyzed at a much more finer scale. For example, we conduct an analysis of this type in Malaysia, and we could clearly see a different pattern regarding to what we can see when we look specifically for the network of actors involved in France, for example. Another things which is interesting to note is that here you have the number of participants and end users of the mobile version of PlantNet, and here it's for the web version of PlantNet. And for example, as you can see, in India, more than 200,000 people to benefit of the platform in India this year for the mobile version of PlantNet here. But when we look for the web version, it's much more used. And so it's interesting to see that in different regions, according to the capacity of the sensors that are available, there is a different pattern and there is different pattern of involvement also. So it is important, I think, to pay attention to the regional needs and constraints. And so this is why we have the chance to have partners in many different regions of the world that push us, that interact to us in order to better understand their needs and their motivation to involve on such a large-scale citizen science project. I was thinking that could be important and useful to share about the economical model that we have. So the project was initiated by 4 French research academic organizations, supported by Agropolis Foundation. And since the beginning, the project was quite open to interact with potential external partners. And so in the past 5 years, we experiment the use of this business model in which we have an open consortium with potentially new members that can contribute to the consortium, the contractualization of some services that the platform is able to provide, also financial support of the participants themselves. I will detail that in a minute, and the response to a call for research and development project. So when we think about the first mechanism that is involved in the business model to maintain the platform runnable and functional, so the project was initiated by these 4 French research institutes, and we imagine a mechanism in which potential new actors could be involved in the governance of the platform, thanks to an annual membership fee. And so up to now, we have 1 new members, which is CNRS, the largest French research institute. And we interact with university and also private actors who are interested to join the consortium in order to participate to its governance and to participate to its maintenance through this through their membership fees, annual fees. So the second mechanism that allows to support the platform and the business model that we implement is a potential contractualization of the plant species identification services that we design. So our main motivation initially was to open the access to this species identification services to the widest number of actors, private or public one. And so we initiate that platform in order to allow any other computational platform, any other IT engineer, university, or any school project to access to these species identification services that can be embedded in another workflow and another platform. But after the request of several private actors who want to contractualize its use in order to secure for them the link with the PlantNet consortium and their need for a specific purpose, we decided to implement a mechanism in which they contribute at the volume of their consumption. So this mechanism is not dedicated to make profit. It is dedicated to sustain the services in order to allow its widest usage and benefit as possible. So since few years now, we have a very significant contribution of the participants themselves. So we open an annual call for donation, so every year. And at present time, they represent 1/3 of the financial resources that are used to maintain the platform itself. We do not only request their potential financial support, we also try to diversify the way in which they can contribute to the improvement of the platform for their own benefit, we could say. So I mentioned the fact that participants are involved in the production, curation of the data, also translation of the interface. We also share promotional material and any content that could be used for them to communicate around the project. So we also interact with key NGOs. So I mentioned two of them here. So Zivica in Slovakia and the Lewa Conservancy in Kenya. And we also analyzed as best as possible all their feedbacks and needs. So because this network of actors mobilize the platform in many different contexts, they can meet difficulty regarding the different scenario of usages that they try to implement. And so we really try to pay as much attention as possible on all the feedbacks that are provided by this network of actors to us, and that allow us to detect as early as possible any constraints, any bugs, any difficulty that they met, and to improve all the platform in that way. And the fourth mechanism that was the major driver force that initiate the project is to continue research activities that support the platform, but also research activities that take benefit of that platform. So the platform allows to generate a very large volume of plant occurrence and visual data. And these data are mobilized in many different contexts, and some of them are illustrated on this slide. And so in some of these research projects that are mentioned here, there is financial contribution to sustain the platform, because the platform is used to contribute to these research activities. Since a long time, we try to have the best balance between accessibility and IT consumption. So the idea for us since the beginning was to provide as much services free. Also provide an access to the platform without the constraint to have a user account, which is still the case now, and which explain why we have a large number of users that are not positioned as a contributor, because they did not invest in the creation of a user account, but it was a choice since the beginning. And then we operate and develop the platform in order to have a reasonable size of all the data, and to be in a position to host our IT infrastructure ourselves, in order to avoid to externalize it on a private cloud, and to have a potential increase of the cost of the management of the platform. Like this, as it is in our hand, there is a much better capacity to balance the capacity, the financial capacity that we have to sustain the platform, and its financial cost regarding its increased volume, in particular related to the volume of data generated by the network of participants. We operate a continuous quality control of the data. But one of the main objectives is to increase the taxonomic coverage, so the number of species that we want to recognize in the end. At present time, the platform is able to recognize around 40,000 plant species, but we want to push much more and to progress much more, in particular in tropical region. And so we have several mechanisms that allow us to evaluate and to curate the quality of the data that are generated, that are used internally, but that are also shared out of the platform. So in terms of volume, so we saw a clear increase of the volume of occurrence and plant observation produced thanks to the transfer of these services on mobile, and thanks also to the capacity of deep learning algorithm to correctly recognize plant species based on image analysis. So since the beginning of the platform, we analyzed more than 1 billion of identification requests submitted by the network of users. Every year since 2011, we conduct a multimedia evaluation, an international benchmark that is dedicated to evaluate the capacity of latest machine learning techniques to correctly recognize plant species based on visual data set that we share with the scientific community. all data generated by PlantNet on the platform are used and organized in order to display picture library, to display plant occurrence, also to display some phenological diagrams that can be illustrated here. And we put as much as appropriate link on the platform to push the user of the platform to explore, thanks to their needs, other biodiversity portal and key international resources of interest that can allow them to improve their knowledge on plant species. So at the beginning, it was clear for us that all the data co-create with our partners has to be in an open license. And so we really push in the share of data in CC by SA license. And so we, among the different Creative Commons license that are available, we select the one that was selected by Tela Botanica network in order to be able to share our data in a common way, we could say, and to increase the potential benefit of that data out of the platform. So since few years now, we start to share our data on JBIF platform. We share it in a way that allows to track the use of that data out of JBIF platform. And so JBIF has implemented a mechanism that allows to track the different scientific publications that rely on a specific data set. And so we were really surprised to see that PlantNet data were mobilized in a quite high number of scientific publications in many different domains. And this was possible thanks to the open of this data set and the involvement that we did in order to share them on this international infrastructure. So the project allows to have some kind of customization through different area of interest, and I mentioned this contextualization to the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, and it's contextualized in many other domains. We also offer the possibility to our partners to track species of interest for them, and in particular invasive species. So here it's an illustration of the occurrence of invasive species generated through this platform and that have been detected in Reunion Island, in which key important information for some of our partners. The species identification services designed by PlantNet is now available through many different other mobile applications that embed these species identification services and that allow them to design a mobile application for a specific audience, specific target, and specific objectives. And here, for example, it's a study, scientific one, that was interested to analyze the plant insect co-occurrence. And so they took a picture library of an invasive insect through iNaturalist network, and they used PlantNet API to automatically identify on which species of plant this species of insect has been observed. And so this illustrates the benefit to have such type of sharing mechanism that allows others to take benefit of our species identification services. As we generate a lot of occurrence, we try to mobilize them in our own scientific activities, in particular for the experimentation of new species distribution modelization techniques. And here are some publications regarding that one. A recent one, for example, has been dedicated to compute large biodiversity indicators at the world scale, and illustrated here for 14,000 plant species of the orchids family. And we try, within the context of some other European project, here illustrated on Gordon, to design tools that allows to interact with this prediction and that allows to provide another type of benefits for the network of actors who take benefit of that platform. I will conclude with a few other topics here that illustrated how the involvement that have been done in the generation of such a visual data set has pushed us to work in many different domains, such as for weed species detection, herbiome image analysis, or plant disease identification. And I will conclude here just with an illustration of scientific remarkable publication that illustrates the diversity of contexts in which this network of citizens has contributed and has allowed to generate scientific output. Here is three projects in which we are now involved, dedicated to design new type of methods to analyze the biodiversity, large-scale biodiversity data set. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be pleased to exchange with you directly online or on Discord. Thanks again.
Thank you very, very much, Pierre. Thank you for obliging us by this wonderful talk. Now, IBP has integrated. Yeah, it's been a wonderful talk. There are a whole lot of questions. We have about 10 minutes, and let me pose some of the questions that have come on Discord and that are available on the Zoom channel as well. So, by the way, IBP has integrated, India Biodiversity Portal has integrated through APIs with PlantNet for species identification, that particular one module, and we're using it pretty well. It's nice to know that PlantNet is on continuous development. You keep changing and adapting. And most importantly, you seem to be listening to users, user context, and user feedback, and adapting features that will suit them very well. A few questions from the audience. Shyam, my colleague, asked a question about the ability to upload multiple plant images on your platform, but it's actually been answered by one of the other participants saying it's possible to upload multiple images and get identification. But the second question Shyam has been asking, as for better identification, you will need pictures of all phenofaces. So uploading many pictures at one to help accurate identification. What is your take on this? Do you get different phenofeatures of the plant for identification? How do you use that in your model?
Okay. So initially, we have one model per type of organ, per type of use, we could say. We have one plant identification model for leaves, for flowers, for fruit, but this could not be scaled at a very large number of different species. And so we start to organize the data and to mobilize them in order to be able to recognize species at different growing stage and at different phenological stage. So regarding the partnership that we have and the interest of some of our partners, for example, to correctly recognize plant species at seedling levels or when they are in flower mainly for ornamental purpose, we push them in order to contribute on the widest phenophases per species as possible. And then we push them in order to contribute from, for example, since the production initiation of flowering bud up to the production of images of the well and mature fruit in order to have the widest visual coverages as possible and to be able to recognize the species in the widest phenological stage as possible. All these data are used to make a phenological diagram, and we hope to be able to share such type of data in different ways. So we already interact with FAO, for example, who took advantages of the diagram and who plan to use it in synthesis that they are producing. And there is a recent research article that mentioned not on plant data, but that mentioned the benefits of such annotated data for phenological studies, because of the distribution of such citizen science data are quite intensively produced in terms of spatial and temporal coverage. They are able to catch some patterns that are sometimes difficult to catch by expert field botanists, or that are difficult to analyze through sparse, we could say, herbiome collection.
Oh, very good. Thank you. There's another question by Mittal. Are the photos shared with PlantNet for identification also stored somewhere to help train the AI model? If
Hmm?
people can contribute to PlantNet, do you also use those images to train the AI model that you use?
So we count around 24 million of images contributed by the network of users. So it's quite small regarding the number of identification that we request. And this can be explained by the fact that only a fraction of the user create a user account. And so among these 24 million of images, 11 million of them have been collaboratively validated. And so these validated images are indeed images that are used during the training of the AI model. And so only a fraction of them has been validated. And this can be explained by the fact that a part of them did not reach the quality standards that we need in order to use them. And also a part of them are probably too difficult to be evaluated because there is not enough information on the visual content shared by the user to clearly validate them. And so this is why we have this mechanism that allow us to interact with a network of citizens, but also with network of professionals who have potentially visual data sets that are dedicated to a particular group of plants or type of use. For example, foresters, a group of agronomists, people who are studying invasive species only. And so they have visual data sets that they are able to mobilize to share with us in order to increase the potential of the model to better recognize their species of interest. And then, based on that, detect new occurrences through the use of the platform.
So, Pierre, you use experts contributing data sets and things like that for doing or do you manually examine these images that you use for training your model? Does somebody examine
So,
them, or is it?
yeah, so we have a large diversity of actors involved in the evaluation of the quality. Some of them are
Okay.
experts, but these experts are not the people, so they are not so numerous, and their time is quite limited. And regarding the volume of data that has to be validated, we implement an algorithm that have been recently accepted for in a scientific publication, and that allows to take advantages of this type of contribution. So this means that when a user contributes an observation, others can collaborate, so can evaluate the quality of that observation. And regarding the result of this evaluation at the observation level, the profile of each user can win some score of confidence, and it increases its capacity to, in the end, contribute to the revision of the data. And then, based on the increase of this um, score that we attribute automatically at the profile level, it allows a
Yeah.
collaborative
Okay.
evaluation.
I see. So you use some algorithms to kind of give
Yeah,
credit to images.
yeah, yeah.
There's
We
a
do.
question from Madhur, who is asking, how did you collect data initially for the AI model when you first started? Did you create the data set yourself, or was it done using publicly available data sets that were available in the public domain? And he's also asking, what are the long-term goals of PlantNet? What do you see in the next few years?
Mm. So initially, the data that were mobilized were data produced by the lab involved and also by this Tela Botanica NGO. So since the
Mm.
beginning, it was a joint effort between scientists who collect observation in the field and also actors of that NGO. And after that, we also were able to mobilize expert data set, we could say, coming from different partners. But we did not involve on the crawl of data from the web. We did that for experimental purpose, but we did not that in order to transfer such visual data available in public domain in order to put in the platform. recently we start to increase the volume of that visual data coming from GBIF, and to select some of them in order to contribute to specific species of interest for us in PlantNet, and notably species that were not illustrated or not enough illustrated. And so this pushes this push me to respond to the second question, which is related to the long-term goal. So our main objective is to increase the capacity of the society to monitor biodiversity, to understand their environment. So we push in the direction that will increase the volume of species that the platform will be able to recognize. So we recognize only, we could say at that time, 54,000 plant species at the world level, which is a significant number, but which is far to be the full coverage of the world flora. And so we have several directions in order to allow that coverage. But I can say also that in the end, what will happen within the platform will be also related to the motivation of the contributors themselves, because they will be able to drive and to push the platform in the direction of interest for them. So we have some research activities that are dedicated to analyze the image community and not only individual organ of plants. So in the three in two of the three research projects that I mentioned at the end, we analyzed the images of quadrats of plants of 50 centimeter side, 1 meter square, or even we start to analyze the data generated by a drone or autonomous sensor. And we also invest since several years now on the use of this plant occurrence to make specialized biodiversity indicators. And this is a research direction in which we push a lot. And I show, I think, one slide of GeoPlantNet, which we hope will be one of the facets of the future of the PlantNet platform.
Nice, nice. So Geeta, one of our colleagues here, is asking this question. The PlantNet API for plugging into existing platforms sounds fascinating. How can one access it? Is any IT support provided for integrating the API with projects which have limited IT capacity? Would you kind of provide support for integrating a platform with your APIs? Please go ahead and answer this. We've done it, but please go ahead and answer.
So let's say, so I can you confirm me that you can see my my screen?
Yeah? Yes. No,
okay.
Not yet. You haven't shared your screen.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for that. Let me share it.
Pierre, there are many more questions, so
okay.
Please
I try to be brief.
Quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So here you can see the URL myplantnet, which is a dedicated website that allows anybody to create an account and then to access to resources that allows to understand how to use the API and to embed it or use it for a specific data set or a specific external platform. So nice. do not hesitate to go there and to use it.
And Geeta, if you want further help, I'm sure Pierre would be ready to help.
Yeah. Do not hesitate to contact us.
Yeah. You can stop sharing, Pierre, your screen. Yeah. Okay. Shannon, of course, congratulates and says it's a wonderful talk, wonderful effort. One of our colleagues. Yeah. So a more technical question. While training the AI models over so large data sets, how do you take care that the model does not go awry? And after a long training process, you find that the accuracy is not up to the mark. And then the model must be retrained again with changed parameters. This is not such an issue with smaller AI models where retraining is not much of a problem. So essentially, if you have a large training set and if you train the model and the model doesn't have the desired accuracy, you have to rerun the training again. So what do you do? Is there any mechanism?
Yeah.
Of
so During the training, we have a different step that allows to make the evaluation of the accuracy of the model, so based on a validation set in particular. And we also have we could say a dozen of data sets, visual data sets, that allows to estimate the accuracy of the model based on this specific data set that has never been shared online on the web. And so this data set illustrated for us the capacity of the model to recognize grass, Mediterranean grass, tropical orchid species, Central African tree species, and so on. And so this data set really allow us to ensure that we never decrease the performance, or if we decrease it, we decrease it with a very low percentages. So it allows us to ensure and guarantee that all the new strategies that we implement to improve the model based on the use of new training data or new type of deep learning architecture are successful. And we accept sometimes to have a decrease in terms of performances on this data set, in particular because we increase the capacity of the model to recognize a larger number of species. So when you start to be able to recognize 1,000 plant species, the model is only able to predict on this 1,000 plant species. But when you start to extend it to 10 times more number of species, the choice and the number of species provided by the model in its result, in its identification, thanks to each identification request, is much larger. And so sometimes it can generate a decrease in terms of performance.
Thank you. There's one interesting question here by Gaurav. I think we can take this as the last question or one or two questions. Is there a need to identify if a plant is, if there is a need to identify if a plant is native to a region or introduced anthropologically based on the geographical distribution? Is it available on the platform? Can I determine whether which area this plant belongs to? This is with reference to detecting invasive species.
Yeah. So invasive species, and for us also ornamental species, are quite difficult to capture because since last year we implement a mechanism that allows to have regional flora based on a World Vascular Plant Checklist managed by Q and available through a Plant of the World online platform. And so this data sets allows to know for each region of the world which species have been recognized to occur there. And so this is well-established knowledge, but that's true that for ornamental plants or potentially new invasive one, you are not able to detect them if you only provide identification result of the species that are known in that region. And so this is why when a user submits an identification request, it is submitted to the world flora, but there is a post-filter mechanism that only display the result on the species of the region selected by the user or the region in which the user is based. But if the model is able to recognize in its first position a species that do not occur or that is not yet recorded in that region, it displays a message to the user that highlights the fact that it is possibly a species which is not yet recorded in that region, in that flora. And so it guides the user and the contributor to this species. So it takes benefit of the knowledge already well established, but it also allows the opportunity to push the user in some new frontiers, we could say.
Oh, that is nice. Farida asks this question: how is the government support to citizen science in France? Do you get government support? How does government use citizen science? What is the future of Terra Botanica, etc.?
Yes. So there is a quite strong support in Europe at European level of citizen science initiative. And there is a big imbalance between the country and between the scientific institutions themselves. So there is clearly some institutions that push in that direction, other potentially related to the discipline in which such type of methodology is involved. But we could say that there is a quite good support. Unfortunately, the support is in on a specific type. So this means that even if the platform like PlantNet is used by thousands, hundreds of thousands of people every day, we only recently have the capacity, the financial capacity to support animators. So people who are not academics or who are not computer engineers. So this means that the support of the governmental agency are not really in favor of the support of animators, which are of a strong needs, because you cannot mobilize and interact with a large network of actors, non-academic one, without people uh, that are trained for that, that has an expertise in order to mobilize network, and that are also fully dedicated to that activity. And so this is quite difficult sometimes to find, to allow the agency to push them to support in that way. And so unfortunately, regarding the network of NGO who are involved in citizen science activities, at present time, even if the government support the scientific institution, they do not necessarily support their network of partners. And so numerous NGO in France now are not really in a good financial position because this imbalance in the support of the European Commission and governmental agency, because they prefer to support the academic institution rather than the network of NGO who interact with them. And so it's difficult for us to be in a position to support our partners, financially speaking, which is mandatory if we want to continue the collaboration.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us, and thank you for this wonderful talk. All the best, and we'll keep in touch with you. Some of them have said they'll get in touch with you for using the APIs and all that. So please, if you get any requests from us, please respond.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And let me now, this is the last session. Let me now hand it over to Shannon to finally do the final honors. Thank everybody, and over to you, Shannon.
Yes, thank you for that fantastic keynote presentation, Dr. Bonnet. It was really fantastic, and Prabhakar, as always, for your wonderful moderation of the session. Thank you to everyone out there for joining us again this year. Those of you who are coming back, and also those of you who are new for the first time, I hope you'll stick with us. The Discord channel will continue to be open, so you can continue to interact for some time in the future. And of course, we hope, as we are all willing to continue this process as long as we can, hopefully taking on new members along the way. So that's another thing. If any of you out there are really interested in becoming more active in the group, please contact us, because we're always looking for new insights and new ideas. I do want to thank a few very, very important people in this process. First of all, Varsha and Preeti, who were very instrumental in the planning and development of this program and took care of all of you out there, making sure that you could join properly and went over your posters and your talks and everything. Also, Amit and Tamiza, who are always with us since the very beginning and helping us with the technical aspects, making sure things go up on YouTube properly. Digangana Mukherjee from the Echo Network, who helped with the communications for this program. And of course, my fellow members of the organizing committee, who have been wonderful to work with, and we have a really good time working on this program, and we meet all year long about this. So it's really wonderful to be part of this community. I am grateful to all of you out there, and on behalf of the committee and everybody at CitSci, I want to thank you all. And before I close, I want to say, did I forget somebody?
Yeah, the Akshita was
Yes, of course, Akshata Pradhan, who has left us earlier in the year. She actually has been working on all of the previous year's program. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
The participant community, of course.
Yes. That was the first thing I thanked. But yes, I'll thank you again. Thank you all for joining us. And please stick with us and let us know if you're interested. There will be a survey that will be distributed. Please fill it out. We do pay attention to that survey for future programs. So we do try to listen to what you say as best we can and execute it as best of our ability. And with that, I think I will officially close the session for this year and thank everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your year. Happy New Year in advance for 2025. And I hope you have many, many wonderful citizen science projects ahead. Thank you so much.